Like most people, you've probably got a lot going on. So if you can't make it to a Charles Bookwalter for Congress town hall, we'll bring the town hall to you. Join Charles Bookwalter Thursday nights at 7 p.m. for a digital town hall, streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Jump into the comments section to join in the conversation. Make a comment or ask Charles for his opinions on the issues that are most important to you. That's the Charles Bookwalter for Congress digital town hall, streaming live beginning at 7 p.m. Thursday nights, exclusively on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Search Bookwalter for Congress to learn more.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price is high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
The Bookwalter for Congress Green Beret experience just got even better.
Did you want to join me in our Green Beret Experience fundraiser, but just couldn't swing it? Times are tough. I get it. Well, I got some great...
This is the Charles Bookwalter for Congress Digital Town Hall. Your chance to talk directly with Charles Bookwalter about the issues important to you. Jump into the comments and join the conversation. Now, without further ado, here's your host, congressional candidate for Indiana's 4th District, Charles Bookwalter.
Well, that just shows you how busy we've been. We haven't even had the time to take the Green Beret ad out of the opening for the show. It's been go, 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 go. Charles, are you tired of going all the time?
I am looking forward to May 7th. It is, it's so that the time flew by. When we sometimes on the campaign talk about some of the things we've done up to this point, we think, well, that was 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and it felt like it was yesterday. But now these last 2 weeks is incredibly
Well, it's all compressed into it's all compressed now. Everybody's interested, everybody's engaged, everybody's looking to see who they're going to vote for in the primary. And one of the conversations that we've had here recently, Charles, is how important your vote is in the primary. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, we've been beating this drum for a long time, but the primary is the election in the 4th Congressional District in most places in Indiana. So if you're concerned, if you're not happy with how you're being represented, then you have to vote in the Republican primary. That is when the people have the opportunity to choose the representative that they want to represent them at all these offices, all these, these state, local, and federal offices. So, and if you do know that and you are in tune to that, then you need to drag 10 of your friends to the primary and make sure that they are voting as well. If that's important, we're at a clutch, we're at a pivotal moment. When that whole Reagan speech is so important. Like Reagan says, we'll do everything for peace. We'll do everything for peace and justice. But if you look around you now, that's not what's being done right now. Not everything is being sacrificed for peace. And we're at a pivotal moment right now with things that are going on as Congress votes on these bills that Americans don't agree with,
right?
The fund wars that Americans don't want to fight in anymore, to take sides in these wars that are killing hundreds of thousands of people, and Americans don't want to.
Well, Charles, one of the things I'm almost 60 years old. I'm 59 years old this year. And my entire life, we've been at war with some nation on this planet, my entire life, with the exception of 4 years. For 4 years, we had no new wars.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's 55 years. 55 years of war.
Yeah, we fought a war to end all wars. It's been war after war. And it's a big argument that we have right now. The argument of the people that want to fund Ukraine are saying, what are you Americans complaining about? The money is going to your defense contractors. And us patriots are like, that exactly. We know this and we don't want this to happen. That's not the economy that we want to plan, that we don't want an American economy built on giving money to defense contractors so that we can and frankly, it leaves us weak and vulnerable. And I heard Colonel, or maybe it was Ritter, talk about this. But right now, what's happening is that Russia is blowing up a lot of U.S. equipment and European equipment in Ukraine right now. So they're learning how to fight against it. They're fighting against it successfully. I read an article the other day about there's an Air Force general that said that, and they also feel they're better prepared to fight in the air because they make, I think it's like the clone to the F-16, which they can make like 18-1 F-35. So the Russians are buying planes that they can, or they're building planes that they can build at a rate of 18-1, that they can afford it. And that F-16 is proven to actually still have some of its capabilities are greater than the F-35. Like it can go higher, it can fly faster. There's some capabilities the F-16 have that the F-35 doesn't have. And so it leaves us weak and vulnerable when we're going to give our equipment over there to learn how to fight again. I mean, we're learning too. I mean, that's part of the process.
Right.
The brass is looking at it. They're like, look, we're learning how that they are going to fight against our equipment. And we're using Ukraine as a proxy to learn how this is going to work out. And man, it's a travesty that an entire generation of Ukrainian men have been wiped out. I heard this the other day on a podcast. 8 men of a certain age range, there's so few of them.
Well, and Charles, it gets more disgusting than that because they've now started conscripting in Ukraine 14 and 15-year-olds to fight. So they've gone through all the men that they have available, and now they're going to the boys. And what it's going to leave behind is a very serious dating problem in Ukraine. I mean, think about it. We're talking about societal collapse of population, and you've killed off how many men in Ukraine over the last 2 to 3 years? It doesn't get any better. And it's sad that we've got so many politicians that think that death is the solution.
Yeah, it's happening all over the world. And this is why I encourage the United States foreign policy to be more diplomatic and seek peace, to return our men and women back home, and for Ukraine to do it too. We should absolutely, at this point, with so much going on for the last 25 years, Ukraine, a war in Ukraine, these proxy wars, Israel and Iran now firing weapons at each other, that we have, this is insane. And these are the same people who tell us we're dumb because we want to seek peace. They think they've made all the wrong decisions up to this point. They're telling us, you don't know what you're talking about. We've been, we're making the yeah, you're making the decisions, and this foreign policy is failing us, and it's leaving us weak and vulnerable to devaluing the dollar, vulnerable to inflation, vulnerable to, listen, this is how it always happens when we send men off to fight foreign wars and they're not here fighting like the cultural battle. Then you have what's happening right now, which is a crackdown on these college campuses of people that are speaking freely. And I don't condone people saying, I don't want people to say death to America. But I also understand that, like, hate speech is covered under the First Amendment. And I can't believe right now, I know there's something going on in Bloomington, Indiana right now, some kind of rally, and I don't know if people are getting arrested or whatever. We'll see. But it's happened in the United States, and it's really frightening, and it's a threat. And we need people to fight against these constitutional rights here in the United States, because they're being taken away, and they're taken away because we're so focused on global and world events that Americans aren't focused.
Well, I'm gonna beg to differ there. I don't think most people are engaged at all. I think that on a daily basis, they're focused on their lives of getting Johnny and Julie off to the baseball game or to the library or paying their taxes, working. You go work a full-time job. You get off at the end of the day. You watch a couple hours of TV. You go to home. You go to bed. You rinse, repeat, and you do the exact same thing the following day. The last thing that most people are concerned about on a daily basis is what's happening on a local, on a national, and on a global scale. And then when they look at it, they're so disgusted, Charles, that they turn it off. They don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
And so it's really sad to where we are. I think that people are really they're starting to wake up and realize.
Yeah, they better wake up.
Yeah, that they've been in a coma, and that they've learned that their nation has been ripped out from underneath them while they were asleep. And tonight's turnout in Fountain County is an awesome sign that you've got citizens coming together. We were there in Fountain County, Charles and I were, along with probably another 200 people? Would you say maybe 150, 200 people?
Yeah, I mean, it was over 100, and it's hard for me to gauge, but yeah, definitely. And that's the standard when people come together and fight against carbon sequestration up in the northern part of the district, or solar farms, wind farms in Hendricks County, and we are winning. And for those of you that are in the 4th District that watch this, that's my intention of going to these places like Fountain County, is because I've been all over the 4th District testifying in some of these different commissioner meetings and zoning meetings and planning meetings in opposition of solar and wind and carbon sequestration. So it gives me an opportunity to bring it to when they think they're out in a silo fighting this on their own in Fountain County. I asked them, like, hey, how many of you think that this is just happening in your backyard? They're like, yeah. No, it's happening all over the district, all over Indiana, and all over the United States. So it's an opportunity to bring everyone together and let them see, and then inform people of some of the steps that have been taken, like in Newton County, to stop the carbon sequestration, or moratoriums or workshops that have led to moratoriums. But the fact is that over the 4th Congressional District in the last year, we've had numerous wins against these. I've been to all these meetings, and it just happened. And we're going to share this. We're going to share the video of the people coming together. But Kramer, I didn't tell you this beforehand, but they voted already at that meeting. They voted to table these solar projects for now, and they voted to approve a moratorium, I think, or something like this. They proposed a moratorium language in the ordinance and passed it. Wow. But they don't vote on. So 200 people show up at the courthouse. They go into these meetings for a few weeks. They let people know, and look what happens.
Yep.
Is you create.
Well, when you show up, and make your voice heard, those who want to keep their jobs generally listen to the louder voices over the influx of money into their county. They want to get reelected. That project isn't worth them not getting reelected.
Yeah, because they'll think we go back to sleep. But that's why we encourage people in our local group to understand the Constitution and your constitutional responsibilities. Because it's not just the loudest group that speaks loudly. The loudest group can say, we want to take your firearms, and we are the majority, and we're the loudest group. And you need representatives and people engaged that understand the Constitution and fundamental law and natural law,
right?
And so that they can say, I don't care what you say. I've been elected to uphold the Constitution, which means that I'm just here. The government's only here to protect your God-given rights that are this, and that's it. They're not to become a broker, a real estate agent. They're not. They can't even build the road. Like, at least just stick with the roads, government. Just stick with the roads. Just do that. They've bitten us so much that's why we suffer from inflation. That's why we're so divisive, because everything is political, because there is no more private property anymore. They've mixed it so much that they take so much of our tax money. Everyone has an opinion about it, because we're being robbed to fund all this stuff.
Well, a great example is...
and it's in our backyard. I mean, there's no better example than this right here.
Yep.
It's literally in our backyard, what they've been arguing for the last 100 years of free market-centered economic development versus state-centered economic development. It has been a debate for 150 years. It continues on today, and unfortunately, we have Republicans in our party in charge that have completely given in to this idea that they need to take money, and the federal government needs to take our money, and they need to dish it out through grants and all these other things, and they need to centrally plan where all this goes. It's crazy to even, but it's all the way up into our backyard. That it's in every one of our counties, every district, throughout the entire state, and people see it now. And we've got to continue to fight back against it. Well,
it's interesting. When we were door knocking last weekend up in Lebanon, knocked on a gentleman's door and got into the conversation about the LEAP project. And the first thing he says, well, I'm in support of it. And I said, well, why is that? He goes, well, we need progress and yada, yada, yada. And I said, well, you realize that they're using your tax dollars to do that. And his comment was, well, yes, from time to time, businesses need boost from the government to be able to do that. And not 5 minutes later, Charles, he was complaining about his property taxes going up, and it was like the smile came across my face, and I go, well, let me explain to you why your taxes are going up. These companies are coming in, they're not paying their taxes, they're getting tax waivers, they're getting abatements. They don't pay taxes in your local community.
Yeah.
So when they need their roads, and they need their sewer, and they need their gas, and they need everything else, all the infrastructure to allow that business to be successful in that community, the community pays for it. Hence your higher property taxes.
Yeah, and the kids, they're like, oh, we need these jobs, these great paying jobs, so your kids will stay in the area. Well, your kids are going to pay for all that stuff, because they don't give a tax break on the people that get the jobs.
No.
They give a tax break to the company. So the company doesn't pay the taxes, but those jobs of all those people, they're going to have to pay a lot in taxes.
And the moment those abatements dry up, the moment they come to term,
they leave. They're gone.
Those companies leave that community and leave it high and dry. They don't care.
Yep. It's happened all over. There's so many examples of that happening all over Indiana, all over the United States. It just is because when you got your thumb on the market a little bit, and you're making, and that's where we are completely. Again, they've been writing about this for 100 years. Is that when you put your finger on the scale on the market, then people get accustomed to it. So now people they're not really starting businesses or entrepreneurs because they see an opportunity. They've done their research, their due diligence. They look for the law. They look for the government contract. They look for the inside opportunity, so that they can take advantage of a situation, not actually looking at a profit-driven motive or anything like that. They're clamoring. It's the same in farming. It just goes across the board. Farming, they're not really seeking to maximize yield and profit. They're also managing like how their crop insurance is. And they can maybe plant this seed a little early because they know they were going to write off a certain percentage of their farmland anyway. So they can do it, and they can manage. So they got to manage the system, not really maximize the production.
Right.
So anytime the Fed has their finger on the scale, you're going to get these markets that are manipulated, or they're not. So when something changes, like an abatement goes away, you're like, oh wow, well
we can't stay here. We can't afford to stay here.
It doesn't work this way. Yeah.
Right. It's too expensive to stay here, so we'll go to another state or another county that will give us the abatements that we want, and we'll rebuild a $10 million facility because at the end it's cheaper to do that than it is to pay the taxes. Yeah. Meanwhile, the community bears the brunt of building the facility, and then when that community feels the vacuum of that business leave, all those jobs will go with it too. So now you've got a community that is impoverished by the same abatements that were promising all this wealth.
Yeah. And the misallocation of those resources goes all the way down. So then the restaurant owner that owned it because there was all that there, then he sees and then the gas station owner that was based on a model that had this much activity. So it all kind of, that misallocation of resources is what you're seeing across the United States right now because of a manipulated interest rate that incentivizes people to take on loans and money that they should not have done, and that goes all the way up to these big corporations. So they're looking for every government handout so that they can make this work for them and stay in business. So that's what we're seeing, and that's what we can show. Look, we have 2 weeks to the campaign.
Right.
So how long we've been going on? Do we have any questions? We better get questions out.
Well, I've got one question here. I'm going to paraphrase it because it was a long one. Basically, what the question is I watch your show. I see you always complaining, and you're never offering any solutions. What legislation do you want to offer when you get to D.C.?
Yeah. My guess is this person doesn't watch my show because I've said this time and time again. I've talked about the 2 pieces of legislation that I'm back, that I would be behind. But this is the problem, is that this person is looking for a legislator to legislate their way out of a problem that is only existing because of legislation. So I've often said, I have a de-legislative agenda, that we need to go in there and start taking defunding and using the Congress through the budgetary process has to take away the funds from these agencies. People are going to have to lose their job in federal government, and we're going to have to shrink the size of the federal government. So federal agencies are going to close, and we're going to deregulate. And, that's so I offered this solution a number of times. Like what law is going to, the laws have already been passed. The law, half of them are more unconstitutional. They made agencies, the federal government's taken on responsibilities they never should have taken on. So that's not we have to look at this differently. And it's not even redefining the position. It's merely going back to what this position originally was intended to do.
Well, a great example is the Department of Education.
Yeah.
It's only been around for 43, 44 years.
Yeah.
I was educated without the Department of Education. I got educated by the school systems that I was in locally. The federal government had nothing to do with my education.
Yeah, and that person that asked that question, and again, they haven't listened to what I've said because I've said this everywhere I've gone. Wants a congressman to go write a law to fix the Department of Education. Well, that's not going to fix the Department of Education. The Department of Education never intended to be a federal agency and a federal department. It was fought hard against during the Reagan administration, and Carter won, and they implemented it. And then it's just ballooned in this monstrosity. Bureaucracy has grown. Education standards have fallen. Test scores have fallen. There's never been more money, more power, and more regulation in education in the history of mankind than right now in the United States. So don't tell me that hasn't been tried. It's been tried our whole lives. And one more law isn't going to do it. One more law is not going to fix the Department of Education. One more law is not going to fix the ATF. We have to look at it in a different way and get as a representative of the 4th District and not a legislator of the 4th District, where they're going to take. Here's an example of like how they want this. They complain about the system works, but here's what. But they stick with it, like with Jim Baird. Jim Baird didn't vote for the Inflation Reduction Act. He made it clear he does not believe in the green energy policies, right? And then he is a primary sponsor of the Carbon Sequestration Collaboration Act. So that money becomes available. He can say, I didn't want it. And then they write a law, or they offer legislation to go after that money to bring it into our districts, which we don't want. And so I'm asking this gentleman to consider a different approach more like the original intent of. That's why you're elected every 2 years. That's why my idea has been to stay in the district, to be in the district the majority of my time, to represent the district to Washington, not Washington to the district. And that's a great example. Right. Of the Carbon Sequestration Act is taking Washington to the district, and then they're telling us this is good, this is economic development, this is your taxpayer money coming back to you. Well, we don't want it in that way, and we don't want you to take it in the first place. So we've got to take away this money. No law is going to get us out of funding Ukraine. We have to send people there that have talked about and been specific that they would not do this, that we know this is the will of the people. We know that the American people don't want to pass the legislation that Mike Johnson and the Congress just passed.
Yep.
We know the American people and Hoosiers and people in the 4th District do not want their representative voting for Biden's $1.2 trillion spending bill. We know it. You know it, the person that asked this question. You talk to your friends and your family and your neighbors. You all roll your eyes when this happens. But then you want to come on here and challenge me like I haven't thought this through, that we need to just pass another law to do something. I made it very clear. We have to have a de-legislative agenda. We have to have a defunding agenda. And Congress needs to take its powers back. Its intentions were to control the size of government through the budgetary process. They've completely relinquished that responsibility, given up to administrative agencies. They write these skeleton bills and let people fill it in, and it punishes the rest of us. So now the two laws that I would that I would back, I would try or sponsor or work with someone to get a national day, voting as a national holiday. So you get the day off. There's so many federal holidays, and the regular people don't get take advantage of it. We need a national holiday, so there's one day of voting, and we need to control the elections at the state level. So we need to get the HAVA, the Help America Vote Act, out of the state elections. No more money from the federal government to go to the states. And we need to pass a law to have voting on one day, a national holiday, so all Americans vote, like a 24-hour period. And people would be involved. We'd have the polls open for 24 hours. It'd be less expensive. It'd be on paper ballots. And those of you that want to try to cheat would have to cheat with your neighbors watching.
That's right.
And that's what we need to get back to.
Well, just like in Iowa. What happened in Iowa is that we watched what happened there. We walk into a room, you give your ID, you're given a slip of paper, and when they say it's time to vote, you write the name of the person that you're voting for. Person comes by with a bag, you throw it in the bag. Everybody watches it all happen. It's completely transparent.
They stick around. They stick around because they want to watch it and they want to count. People they're watching over everyone's shoulders. People who openly volunteered. Remember, Kramer, they set the rules right beforehand. They said, how much time do you want each of the presidential speakers to have? 2, 3 to 5 minutes. How much? And someone was like, 2 minutes.
Yep.
And they said, I'll second it, 2 minutes. All in favor? It wasn't that complicated.
No.
It went off really well. I want to make sure I don't miss another point. That another piece of legislation I've talked about, and I think we needed either would be in a form of legislation, because I'm not sure that you can just completely get rid of the National Childhood Immunization Act of 1986 that gave vaccine manufacturers legal immunity for the products that may hurt, injure, or kill patients that are being mandated on people. And we need to remove that. So there is a legal liability. Again, this happened in the Reagan administration in 86, and they fought against it. They said that, you can't, it's the only industry where the industry came to them and said, we are being sued for making these because our product is hurting people.
Well, it was from the swine flu.
Protect us. We need to pass legislation, President, that will protect us from these lawsuits that are hurting us because our product is hurting people. And it passed.
Yep.
How is that possible?
Because they're corrupt, Charles. They're corrupt. And it's not new. Right? I mean, we all know the answer. Having that in place benefits no one but the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah. So that's another piece of legislation, if that's what it would require, that I think I would sponsor. Yeah. And the other things, the de-legislative or the defunding, they're already there. Thomas Massie already has a bill about defunding Department of Education. Matt Gaetz has a bill about defunding the ATF. I think Bob Good or Chip Roy has another bill about defunding energy or somewhere else. So they're already out there. We just need to send them reinforcements. I encourage a person that has that question. Like, seriously consider this. We need to send them reinforcements that are already talking about it, that are willing to go there and not play ball with the business as usual anymore. Right. And now's our time. Now is when we have to take advantage of it. You heard Rahm Emanuel say that let no emergency or whatever it is go to waste. Let no tragedy go to waste, whatever it is. We have to think that same way as patriots. And when they expose themselves through what they did, the overreach with COVID, then we need to take advantage of it and take some of that power back. When they expose themselves going after this green energy policy, we know is a scam. It's a complete scam. It's not made possible without heavy federal subsidy. I'm not saying that I wouldn't mind having solar panels on my house. I would look into that. But
like the gentleman said tonight, he goes, don't think because I have solar panels on my home that I'm for the solar panel farms. Yeah. He goes, I'm for energy independence for each person.
Yes.
But I don't want this. Yeah. I don't want this. And that's an interesting point. I hadn't seen anybody talk from that perspective before.
Yeah, me neither. And he got a round of applause. Yeah. But yeah, it's industrial commercial solar that is just insane. They're putting it on farm ground in Indiana farmland. We know that's pristine.
It's the best farmland in the world.
They could put it on warehouses. They could put it in deserts. It is a land grab. It is unbelievable. It's unconscionable. Unconscionable is the word. Unconscionable that it's even happening. I can't believe it. So that all being said,
well, let's do this. So, let's take a break. We'll come back, and then we'll immediately get into the Fountain County crowd that was there tonight. Great crowd, great turnout, and a lot of people who are really engaged that wanted to speak and were speaking it from the crowd. Charles, what I'm taking away from what I saw tonight is that people are at the edge. They're at their rope's end. They're done. They're tired. And they're tired of being told that they're the problem. And that, progress is going to happen. And if you get in the way, you're the problem.
Yep.
But you got to pay for it. No different than these people we started the show with, the people on the college campuses that are screaming death to America, then turning around and expecting America to pay for their college tuition. I mean, it's asinine. So let's take a break. We'll be right back after this.
My name's Charles Bookwalter, and I'm running for U.S. Congress. In the average campaign commercial, the announcer, backed by patriotic music, would inform you I'm a former Green Beret and Bronze Star recipient. Or you'd be told how my opponent, Jim Baird, voted to send billions to Ukraine, or that he authored the bill to bring carbon sequestration plants and Joe Biden's Green New Deal to Indiana. But this isn't that kind of ad. I just want to let you know, for the first time in 6 years, you have a choice in the Republican primary. I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I humbly ask for your vote on May 7th. I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I approve this message.
What does Chip Roy think about Jim Baird's yes vote for Biden's $1.2 trillion spending bill?
Any Republican who votes for this bill should be ashamed of themselves.
Jim Baird should be ashamed, and we should be disgusted.
This budget funds full-term abortion. It funds DEI. It funds trans ideology on our youth as young as 12 years old.
But at least Baird voted to protect the border, right?
If you care about the border, you're getting nothing here.
On May 7th, vote no to big government Jim Baird.
I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I approve this message.
This is the Charles Bookwalter for Congress Digital Town Hall. Your chance to talk directly with Charles Bookwalter about the issues important to you. Jump into the comments and join the conversation. Now, without further ado, here's your host, congressional candidate for Indiana's 4th District, Charles Bookwalter.
Charles, before we get into this, let's go over the schedule that we've got for the next couple of days. Coming up on Saturday, we have an event in Carroll County. It's an open seat debate. Explain to me what an open seat debate is. What does that mean? Oh, you silenced yourself. I can't unsilence you. Charles, no sound. Your mic is off.
I turned it on.
There we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
So a number of months ago, earlier on in the campaign, we had a number of third-party organizations that contacted the Baird campaign and asked for a debate. I don't even. There were 9, 10. I don't. They were all over. Different organizations. We the People events, other events asked Purdue Republicans, which ended up having an open chair debate. But this other group, We the People in Carroll County, wanted to have a debate, so they invited Congressman Baird, again, 6 months ago, something like that, 4 to 6 months ago, I don't remember, and let him choose a time, date, all that, but he never responded. So they want to still have an event, have a debate, but it'll be open chair. So so on Saturday at 6 p.m., I'll be in Carroll County taking questions. So if you live there, please show up, and we'll do a live there as well. So we'll just do it live and answer any questions that people will have, because that's what this job is. That's what this job requires.
One of the interesting let me jump in. One of the interesting things about this deal with Jim Baird is that on your Facebook account, somebody made a comment about one of the ads. We were showing Jim Baird's voting record. And I want to make it very clear. I've worked in a lot of political campaigns. I've done a lot of political ads. And the thing that Charles said at the very outset when I joined the team was no ad hominem attacks. We do the record only. His record only. I don't want to hear about rumors. I don't want to hear about things that people think. I don't want to hear about how people feel. We're only going to focus on Jim Baird's record. That's what we've done. The comment said that's negative. If Jim Baird won't show up to debate and won't answer the questions from the constituents, I think showing his record is the only way to do it. That's his performance. That's his job. Correct?
Yeah. It's also just kind of silly to even suggest that. Like, what are you supposed to do as a political candidate in a primary? What am I supposed to talk about?
Right.
If I can't, what is the person suggesting that I attack him personally?
Right.
What else is there to do? Either you talk about the job that the incumbent is doing in office, and you look at the record and you bring it up to people's attention, because arguably someone in my position should have an understanding of what people are thinking on the ground. So, by do their own due diligence and understanding that there's a lot of pushback, a lot of things that are happening that our congressmen, not just our congressmen, but it goes down to the state level and down to the local level, that they are doing, many of these elected representatives, that us on the ground, we're fighting back against, and we're having to show up to these meetings and say, what are you guys doing? Don't do this. Stop with this solar stuff. Stop with the wind. Stop with the carbon sequestration. Hey, we don't like these elections the way they are. We don't like voting for a month and having ballots available for mail in. And we want to have maybe one day of voting or get back to precincts with ID. We already have ID,
right.
But, and it seems like those people like Congressman Baird go to Washington, D.C., and they start sponsoring and paying for things that we end up having to fight back against on the ground level. It's complete insanity. So it is incumbent on it's the priority of a primary challenger to pour over the record and then hold that person accountable. And in Indiana, the primary is the election. So to suggest that I do anything other than what we're doing right now, which is looking at all the voting record and holding our elected representative accountable is silly.
I agree.
It's suggesting that I go another way, which is attacking him personally or whatever. It's only been about the job. It's been about the representation, about the voting record. So,
well, would you be running for Congress if you thought that Jim Baird was representing you and your community in the right way? Would you be stepping forward if that were the case? It'd be a lot easier not to.
Yeah, so just flip it and say, I would not challenge Jim Baird because I've heard Jim Baird's a nice guy, and I'm not saying he's not. I've said that in a number of places. But right now, we don't need nice guys in Congress right now, okay? But let's say that he was a strict constitutionalist and was like making headlines because he never voted out. It was a strong principle. And let's say he was a terrible guy. Let's say he was really mean, right? I wouldn't run against him because he's just a mean guy.
Right.
He's a great representative. I would cheer him on. Like, look, this guy, I don't like him, and he's not very nice. He's not kind, but he's an incredible representative for the district. Like, he doesn't.
He's a fighter.
Things to us. He's a fighter. He's fighting back. He's not like. So I wouldn't challenge him if he was just a mean guy, but a great representative.
Right.
Just like I will challenge him if he's a nice guy, but not voting.
Right. Well, that's what I think that people miss is that explaining someone's job performance in a TV commercial or in a radio ad and saying they voted this way, those are the facts. Facts cannot be negative. The only person that facts are negative to are the person that those facts hurt. The candidate that voted that way and decided to go against the will of the people, that's who it hurts. And I'm sure to them, they see it as negative. Let's wrap up here with the schedule real quick. I did miss that Saturday morning will be in Martinsville, Indiana, Morgan County, door knocking. There'll be a group of us down there. Saturday evening in Carroll County for the open seat debate. Do you know where that's at in Carroll County?
I can
people
look it
want
up.
to join.
Keep going over the schedule.
Okay, I'll keep going over the schedule. Next Tuesday, we'll be in Newton County for a candidate forum. And on May 2nd, we'll be in Plainfield at the Public Library for a live town hall. So all of those events happening, everything's crammed into the last few weeks or the last couple of weeks here. I can tell you that if you're tired of seeing the commercials on TV for politics, we're with you. We are worn out as well. It has been a hard fight every day. Somebody, unless it was raining, Charles, somebody from your team or groups of people from your team have been out door knocking. How many doors have we knocked so far?
25,000, at least 25,000 at this point. There's people knocking on doors every day. So on Saturday, there's going to be a team in Morgan County, Martinsville. There's going to be a team in Montgomery County, in Crawfordsville. There's always a team in Hendricks County. They'll be in Plainfield this Saturday, and in Tippecanoe County. Yeah. And there's always a team out in Jasper County. So there's always teams out knocking on doors. It's I get just humble when I actually think about it. I'm humbled when I think about it. And I let people know that I am too. I'm out knocking on doors regularly, as much as I can. I've knocked on over 1,500 doors myself, but there's people on our team that have knocked on 2,500 doors.
Right.
So 3,000 doors. Right now, we're knocking on about 3,000 doors a week. It's an incredible effort, a get out the vote effort. It
really is, and I'm going to say this out loud for everybody who's watching. I've had the pleasure and the misfortune of working on a ton of political campaigns over the last 15 years. I worked with the Indiana Republican Caucus for a decade and really embedded in the day-to-day operations of campaigns. And folks, I got to tell you, the Charles Bookwalter campaign, I told his dad tonight, is the best campaign I've ever worked on. I mean, from top to bottom.
I'm going to blush.
Everything. I'm serious. Charles, I'm not blowing smoke up your tail end. This is how I really feel. I've seen the worst of what campaigns bring out in people. Candidates who lose their composure because something goes wrong. And time again, we've had things go wrong in the campaign. Things didn't turn out the way that we wanted them to. And yours was, we move forward. We learned from this and we move forward. And the second thing is that there's no infighting in this campaign. There's nobody trying to get your attention. There's nobody trying to cozy up next to you. There's nobody that says my idea, it has to be my idea or I'm not going to work with you. Everybody's in the same fight because they realize the peril that our nation is in right now. And that it's going to take strong men like Charles Bookwalter and others across the nation that are doing the same thing. Right now, if people don't know, Charles, we have more Republicans running. And what I mean with that is new people like yourself that have never run for office before. I'm running for office this time because that's how important this election is, down to the county level all the way to the federal level. And I just want people to know, Never seen a fight, never seen an argument, never seen anybody with crosswords with each other. Everybody's in for the win, and that is so exciting to be a part of. I get goosebumps thinking about it because it's something new for me. I've never seen this happen in politics before. So I'm hoping that the people of the 4th realize that the candidate that they have in front of them and stop complaining about what's going on and do something about it. As Charles has been saying, go to the primary. That is your election. It's the people's election. That's where you get to pick somebody new. That's where you get to enact your own term limit on somebody. You don't have to wait for them to pass it. You term limit them with your vote. That's how it works. And you can only do that if you vote in the primary.
Yeah. If you are tired with government corruption, then you should replace these elected representatives every few years, because then they can't buy them off. That's the biggest part of it. And they can't. So you should absolutely do that. And for anyone that is following this campaign closely, I get this question all the time. How do you feel about it? Well, I'm not going to be surprised if we win. We have so much momentum, but I just want to remind some people of a few things. The first thing is that we have hundreds of volunteers that are throughout the district, knocking on doors and passing out literature and talking to people. And the Bear campaign has no infrastructure whatsoever. We have outraised the Bear, a sitting incumbent, for the last 2 consecutive quarters, and we have an incredible number of individual donors, over 250, and they cannot. The Bear campaign cannot say that they have. I don't even know what the total number is. Very few individual contributors that are giving to that. So we're outraising an incumbent. That's incredible. Here's another piece of information that only insiders would know. No, most people will never know this, that between January and March of this year, which was the last quarter that you have to file in the FEC, Congressman Baird loaned his campaign another $200,000. So, that ought to be telling. The primary is almost here.
Right. It's 2 weeks away, and he loaned himself $200,000.
So you can make of it what you want, people. I'm saying all those things to be inspiring, that when people ask me how you feel, I feel like there's some wind at our backs right now. I feel like, although it's very difficult to beat an incumbent, that when they happen, they look like campaigns like this, grassroots campaigns, like you had said, Kramer, where many of us have put our ego aside. We're on a mission. We have a goal and a mission. We're mission oriented. Right. We all make mistakes. We correct, readjust, we work. No one makes a mistake that's a fatal mistake. That's right. Right. Because we're all doing our best, to accomplish this mission. And there's people all over that are working towards this mission. So it is inspiring and it's humbling at the same time. And I can only give all glory and honor to Christ, because that's how I live my life, is I try to model it after that. I try to be slow to anger. I make mistakes all the time. I fail all the time. But it is nice to hear you say that, because it's just how I try to live by the words of Jesus, the commands of Jesus.
I told your dad tonight that this has been the most enjoyable campaign that I have ever worked on. And that all of the things that I noted, no infighting, no screaming matches, all of the things that I've seen before, Charles, that comes from leadership from the top. We all understand who we're working for and what the job is and what our task is. And from Mike Roach to Tim Beyer to Margaret to the rest of them that are part of this team, again, I get goosebumps thinking about it, because I see the momentum of this campaign. And I've been telling Charles for weeks, I think he's got it. I think he's got it, and he doesn't want to do that. He does. Okay. But what can we do today to make it better, to make sure that we win, to make sure that we can go represent the people of the 4th the way they should be represented? That's the way that Charles Bookwalter talks behind the scenes. It's not me, I. It's what can we do for the people? And I'm going to say one more thing before we go to the Fountain County video. If you want a job, and Charles has said this many times, if you want a job, the best way to get that job is to do the job and make people aware that you're doing it, so that they realize you're qualified for the job. Time and time again, we see people coming in and saying that this campaign isn't a serious campaign. Folks, when you've got hundreds of people knocking every day for a campaign, taking time out of their day, time out of their life. That's the one thing we can't get back is time. Once it's gone, it's gone. They're taking their time and committing it to this cause because it's so important. We've got to get these big government spenders out. We're not going to get lower taxes. We're not going to get a better way of life until we get people like Charles Bookwalter in that can do one thing that Jim Baird can't do, and that's say no to big spending. So with that being said, let's take a break, and we'll come right back, and we'll go to the Fountain County video. You have anything you want to close with?
Very generous of you, Kramer. Thank you very much.
That's why I believe I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that.
I know.
So,
thank you for your time.
With that being said, we're going to wrap up with this video, and we'll see you. Not tomorrow. What are we doing? No, not tomorrow night, but Saturday night. So we'll be live again on Saturday night. With that being said, we're out of here. God bless America. We'll see you again soon.
Why did Jim Baird suddenly flip-flop on his support for Ukraine funding? One day he's for it, the next he's not. For the record, between 2022 and 2023, Jim Baird voted on 3 separate occasions to give a total of $90 billion to the Ukrainian war machine. He even received an A rating for his unwavering support. But now Baird says he's against funding Ukraine. What changed? Charles Bookwalter. Charles Bookwalter is a true constitutional conservative who's ready to serve and vote the will of the people of the Fourth. That's what changed.
I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I approve this message. My name's Charles Bookwalter, and I'm running for U.S. Congress. In the average campaign commercial, the announcer, backed by patriotic music, would inform you I'm a former Green Beret and Bronze Star recipient. Or you'd be told how my opponent, Jim Baird, voted to send billions to Ukraine, or that he authored the bill to bring carbon sequestration plants and Joe Biden's Green New Deal to Indiana. But this isn't that kind of ad. I just want to let you know for the first time in 6 years, you have a choice in the Republican primary. I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I humbly ask for your vote on May 7th. I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I approve this message.
Everyone, my name's Charles Bookwalter. I grew up just south of here in Perrysville, Indiana, and I have family that lives here in Fountain County. And everyone's here for the same reason that we're coming out, is my suspicion is in opposition of what's going on with these solar farms. And so I'm here speaking because in what I'm doing, this isn't about me, but I'm all over the 4th Congressional District right now, working with other counties that are going through this exact same thing. So did anyone think they were alone in this fight against these green energy policies in their county? If you did, you're not alone. This is happening all over our congressional district, and Fountain County's split in the 5th and the 4th. It's happening in the 5th, it's happening in the 4th. It's happening all over the entire state of Indiana, and it's happening in the United States. This is essentially Joe Biden's Green New Deal energy policy being forced on all of us through federal tax dollars that are going out to these companies that are coming in and buying our land. So I wanted to share with you a few things that have happened in other counties that they've done, because my observation is this is what it takes right here. Just this right here. All of you coming out and doing something, this is what it takes. In Newton County, north of here, they got the commissioners to pass a weight restriction on vehicles so they couldn't drill and perform carbon sequestration up there in Newton County. In Putnam County, a group started going to the planning meetings, and they showed way fewer than this people, 25 people at these meetings, adamant about not letting the zoning board rezone some land that would go to solar panels. And they successfully did that. In Hendricks County, they started showing up because a wind farm came in that wanted to put a wind farm in Jamestown. And the people came together and they stopped it. And in Boone County, where I live now, the same thing has just happened. And this is going to be the things that I suggested maybe that you could do here. We requested, we went to these meetings, commissioner meetings, and they said this isn't up for debate here, so we requested a workshop. And that allowed there were 200 people at the Boone County Fairgrounds that spoke up in opposition against having these solar farms. And the next Monday, the commissioners got together and they voted for a moratorium. No more solar projects in Boone County for 2 years. So
This is happening. This is the best way for this to happen. So I'm encouraging everybody to go to these meetings, go to this meeting, take your 3 minutes, tell them that you're in opposition to what's going on for whatever reason that may be. I'll give you the two arguments that I hear most often, and I want you to consider this. This is what I'm hearing from the people that profit from this, from the sales reps and from the local government, and from the big farmers that are getting a lot of money for these leases. One is property rights. They say, well, how can you tell a property owner what they can and can't do with their land? Has anyone heard that yet? Yeah. Okay. Well, what about that if they apply that same argument to the private property, which is our money, the fruit of our labor that they're giving to the federal government, that they're giving to these federally subsidized companies that are going in and buying off these properties. Private property begins with our taxpayer dollars. And if they don't want us involved in this decision making, then they don't use our money. Otherwise, we're going to be involved in that because that's our private property. And don't forget that. Don't let them tell you that. That is, if this is a private property issue, then it is our taxpayer dollars is where this private property has started in the first place. Does everyone understand that? Yeah, absolutely. And if you go look up Dolphin Solar, look it up right now on your phone. And on the front page of Dolphin, it says they are a federally subsidized company working on green energy policies. It says it in the first page when you go to their landing page. So they're not shy about, what they say they are, or who they say they are. The second thing, and this should offend every red-blooded American, and they've just convinced us that this is how, it's an age-old debate of how are we going to grow our communities? Is it going to be us with our money and through rivalry and entrepreneurship that we're going to grow and economically develop our communities? Or are they going to take our taxpayer dollars and are they going to just determine who goes where and how they go here, and they're going to centrally plan everything? And we've kind of let them now make those decisions. And so they come to us and they tell us, well, if we don't get your money to give to these companies and then these companies can come and economically develop, then we don't have a tax base. So that's their second argument, is this is going to provide a great tax base. And then, but for what? For what? Because these local governments, state government, and federal government has taken on responsibilities that they were never intended to have. They were never intended to do these kinds of things while they take our money to do it, right? So that we should not listen to that argument either. You should be offended as a liberty-loving patriot that we're not using our money to develop our communities the way we want to do it. Some of you are business owners. What would you do if you had 35 cents on the dollar back into your pocket? You'd hire someone else. You'd start a business. There's so many other things we can do. But they've convinced us that they should take 55 cents out of the dollar, send it to a government and who will essentially plan, and that we're not smart enough to create or develop economic or the communities the way we want to do it. I think that's a scam. I think it's a lie. And I think we are better capable of deciding what our communities look like than a few people that profit from this. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. So those are the two arguments I hear most often. And I think they're fallacies, and I don't agree. And if you hear that in there, now you can think about it a little bit, and you've got some ammunition to fire back. I think that you also should consider a moratorium on solar here to stop that. And here's what you can do right now. We've got some people here. I know it's not easy to come up here and talk, but here's what you can do immediately. In 2 weeks, there's an election. Yeah. And in Indiana, the primary is the election. If you didn't know that, you're going to be represented by a Republican. They're going to run as a Republican, even though they want to take your money and centrally plan. They're still going to call themselves a small government Republican. You have an opportunity in 2 weeks to stop this immediately. If you vote out the commissioners that are for this or supporting it or somehow benefiting from it financially through insider dealing and insider trading on insider information,
then you can get that person out of office, and this will stop everybody. This will end. And I would suggest, because there's a couple people running for commissioner right now, that you ask them right now on the spot, are they willing to commit to a moratorium on solar right now? And if they're willing to commit to some of these things, on solar, on wind, on carbon sequestration, or any of these green energy policies that they're trying to force it on our counties right now, it's happening all over because they're flush with this money. You get that commitment from them, and then you all go vote in the primary, and you drag 10 of your siblings and your brothers and your sisters and your friends and your neighbors and everybody, and you drag them to the primary, and you vote them out of here. That's term limits. That's how this works. And that's what you're supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do. And the silver lining is these issues are like one, we're all here for like one issue, and it's this. And so that's very powerful. It's very motivating, and you can get other people to show up and vote with you. So I suggest you do this. And yes, sir. And that's all I really have to say. I just wanted to kind of bring it together, you guys. I'm all over the 4th because I'm running for another office. I see this all over, and I want to continue to bring people in this 4th to make them aware of the other things that are happening. Up north is carbon sequestration. In Hendricks County, it's wind farms. Down south, it's solar farms. Boone County, it was solar farms. And a lot of this is going through the IEDC, a public-private enterprise in Indiana that's buying our property. Again, run by Republicans that say they're for small government, but they use the same wording, public-private partnership. It's socialism versus free markets. That's what it is. In a nutshell, it's an age-old debate. So if any of these commissioners that are running for office, KW, if you want to come out, he has a few words to say. I spoke with him the other day. He told me everything that the first question I asked was, where do you stand on this? And his answer satisfied what I was looking for. But it's not going to work if you all don't get behind one candidate, knock on all your neighbors' doors, and start taking your county back. And so we can take our state back, and so we can take our country back. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Can everybody hear me? Everybody hear me all right? My name's KW Rice. I am running for commissioner in District 2. I was born and raised in Fountain County. I love Fountain County. I love agriculture. I don't want to see Fountain County become a landfill, a solar panel landfill, because that's what it's going to end up being if we let this go on. I will say it right here in front of everybody, 100% against solar panels. We need to stop this crap right now, because it's not about me. It's not about you. Come here, girls. Come here. This is what it's about right here.
Yep, that's right.
We have to protect their future. Because let's face it, 90% of these landowners that are signing up for solar aren't going to be here in 30 years to see the waste that they're creating. They will be. So come May 7th, remember that. Remember these kids, remember this land. Please vote.
Doing a really good job. My son's brought his donation. They've been bashing him heavily. So.
You guarantee us, you promise us that you'd work for us and not for the man. Because that's the whole point. You get somebody that comes out and says, hey, I'll do this for you guys, or it's for my kids and my family, and you turn around backlash, and it's all about profiteering and what you get under the table and all that bull crap. Some of us around here, we scratch. Great. And some of us just scrape and scrounge are pretty damn proud of doing that. It's you guys that we trusted in there. And you guys are taking us for a ride. And I don't mean that offensively to you. But if you get in that office and in front of everybody in here, I have no problem with saying it. I'll point you out in public and say, hey, you're not doing it.
I hope everybody heard that. That was a very good point. One thing, if elected, I will do, we will take our commissioner meetings back to 6:30 in the evening so the people can come. Not at 9 o'clock in the morning when the working class is all at work so they can slide this crap under the table.
Exactly.
I will work for the people, we will be for the people, and the people will have a voice if I get in office.
Over here, KW?
Yes.
I have a question while our state rep is present. I'd like to know where she stands on the solar because she takes donations from the solar PACs, voted for the CO2, and she represents this district. Why would she say it's a local issue when she takes money from the solar companies? If she's here, I'd like for her to answer that.
If she's here, Ms. Nagel, would you like to come up and speak and answer a few questions? The question asked was, well,
I'll ask her.
I'll let him ask again. Thank you very much. Just remember, it's about us, about everybody.
My question, Mrs. Nagel, is if you represent District 13, okay, why are you taking donations from solar companies, and why did you vote to support the CO2 pipeline in Warren County? Which
So,
now,
okay, you're
let me
asking
ask
several
it.
questions, and I will answer
Let me
them
ask
one at a
it.
time,
Okay.
one at a time. You
Okay.
hate me, and we all know that
No.
you hate me.
No.
Tell people you hate me. Call my office.
I want you to be honest.
I will be honest. I will be honest.
Why?
Let's talk about the CO2, which doesn't really affect Fountain County. Yes.
Yes, it does.
Right now it's in Warren and it's in Benton. Those are the areas. CO2, there was regulation that was passed at the state level that did not usurp any local control. Absolutely did not. 1209 does not. What 1209 was supported by Farm Bureau, and it was supported by the Association of Counties. So I get donations from coal companies. I get donations from realtors. I think I might have gotten one from a wind company. Don't think so. I'd have to look at my report on it. But I get from everybody. It's just when you've been an incumbent for 12 years, you get donations from a variety and all energy sources, not just one. So, and I sit on utilities is why that happens. And I definitely get some donations that I don't pay, I don't accept. So, back on that. CO2 is up to the county to make the decision if they want it or not. It's up to the property owner. That's what that bill was all about. Secondly, is on solar. That is totally a local control issue. I've stayed out of it because it is a local control decision. Commissioners adopt the ordinance, that decision is made. I personally would support a moratorium. I think it's too many. Sorry. Okay, closer. I support a moratorium. I think there should be a limit on how much there is. I don't like the idea of good fertile land being put with solar panels. My preference would be to see it more in a desert, in a place that makes better sense, or on roofs that makes sense. That's my personal opinion, but I don't control the local side of it. That is why this is important to have this meeting. That's why it's really important to talk to your commissioners and talk to your county council members and go to this planning meeting. I think you might hear some good news at this planning meeting. I think there will be some discussions about a moratorium, and that's where we need to be.
Sharon?
What was your next question?
Did you take a donation from NextEra, which is connected to the solar company?
I would have to look.
I ran for sheriff.
I'm
I knew
sorry.
who I took donations from.
I am sorry. It's too big of a list. I am a state representative, and I have a huge amount of donations. So I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
This was just recently.
We have 5 minutes left. I would like to address the county builders for the commissioner. Can you just maybe deal for just a few minutes?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good. This is.
Well, yeah, I would like to talk. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have like 5 minutes before the meeting, so I don't know if everybody's going to want to go in. I'm Chris May. I'm running for Commissioner of District 1. Just real quickly, when we were one of those people that thought we were alone in this battle when we found out about it in October. We are going to be surrounded on all 4 sides of our property. And we were devastated. We were in shock that this would be done. It's cruel to a homeowner. But when I found out in meetings that everybody was ticked, I feel like I'm on the right side. I can represent you. I am not a politician. I don't love this at all, but I'm fired up because we tried to speak at the meetings and we were not heard. We were rudely ignored and not even considered. That's not representative government.
Right.
What I promise you is I'm still learning. I've spent
I actually have a degree in government, but don't hold that against me. It's a long story. I'm a business owner and I like to make pretty weddings. I don't want any of this ugly politic business. But this is our home. We chose to live here. This was my forever home. I don't want it to be uninhabitable with carbon sequestration, the water. And let me tell you about the water. If the wells come or the aquifer doesn't affect us with the water program in Lebanon, the solar panels will, because what I've seen in North Carolina on this mass scale is that it dehydrates your land. People that have farm animals that they have to water, they have to replace 4 times a day more because of the evaporation from this mass change in environment. I can't believe the environmental people aren't up in arms in this. It absolutely, there's not even discussion about the health things that I've looked into myself. There's EMF and radiation, and they'll say, well, your cell phone has that. Not to the degree, 1 million panels, it's gonna have a devastating effect. And I just hope that you vote for me. I will do my best as one of 3 commissioners to be loud, to be honest, and if I see something that's not right, I'm gonna go to social media and let you know. Because this is who I should be a voice for, and will be. So, thank you. And thank you, Charles, for coming. I will do my best as one of 3 commissioners to be loud, to be honest, and if I see something that's not right, I'm going to go to social media and let you know. Because this is who I should be a voice for, and will be. So, thank you. And thank you, Charles, for coming.
Yeah, of course. Anyone else? We got 5 minutes till the meeting starts. I want to make sure everyone can get into the meeting. You, sir, come on up. It's many of you want to go in. It's 1756. So just
my name's Dane Moltzberger. I live in Mill Creek Township. I'm the crazy guy down there that's got that giant solar array, so everybody thinks I've got a bias in this. I don't. I'm about energy independence. I'm not about solar farms. And it doesn't just stop with just the commissioners. You have a whole slate of candidates to vote on. There is a whole chain of people in this process. You have got citizen members sitting on this committee that are appointed. Somebody appointed them. Okay? We need to have a voice in who gets appointed.
I married my wife.
It isn't just that, it's the county council. They're the ones that wanted to abate away all this money they claim they're going to give to us. Okay? Those people have elected positions. So the voting doesn't just stop with just the commissioners. You need to ask the question to everyone that's up for election on the council, and you need to voice your opinion to all those citizen members that are on there. They all have an address. They all have an email. You have a way to get a hold of them so that you can be heard. These are people that live in our community. They need to know how our community stands on this issue. And it takes every single one of us, every single time. I admit, I was asleep at the helm when this all went down, started in 2017, so quietly behind the scenes.
We all were.
We all were.
Yep.
But it's now that we have been awakened, we need to make sure that we are heard every single time.
All right, those who go in the meeting, please be courteous and go into the meeting and tell everyone how you feel. And don't stop here. This is exactly what it takes, what the gentleman said. You got to turn out in the primary. The primary is the election in your district. The primary is the election. Take 10 of your friends and go vote in the primary.
My name is Charles Bookwalter, and I'm running for U.S. Congress. In the average campaign commercial, the announcer, backed by patriotic music, would inform you I'm a former Green Beret and Bronze Star recipient. Or you'd be told how my opponent, Jim Baird, voted to send billions to Ukraine, or that he authored the bill to bring carbon sequestration plants and Joe Biden's Green New Deal to Indiana. But this isn't that kind of ad. I just want to let you know for the first time in 6 years, you have a choice in the Republican primary. I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I humbly ask for your vote on May 7th. I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I approve this message.
What does Chip Roy think about Jim Baird's yes vote for Biden's $1.2 trillion spending bill?
Any Republican who votes for this bill should be ashamed of themselves.
Jim Baird should be ashamed, and we should be disgusted.
This budget funds full-term abortion. It funds DEI. It funds trans ideology on our youth as young as 12 years old.
But at least Baird voted to protect the border, right?
If you care about the border, you're getting nothing here.
On May 7th, vote no to big government Jim Baird.
I'm Charles Bookwalter, and I approve this message.
Thank you for watching the Charles Bookwalter Digital Town Hall. For more information about Charles Bookwalter and the Bookwalter for Congress campaign, visit bookwalterforcongress.com.